So they're the shoe color. And I would love to like take a used shoe to a Bo Jackson signing and be like, Mr. Jackson, would you sign my shoe, please? And I'd have that dude on my wall. Because why not, right?
All right, Randy, I pressed the big
I saw you did.
I'm gonna get this thing going. We'll be right back.
District, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text? That trash offer's the best? You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden, they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man. Y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
What is up, Fantasyland? We are back in the district. And, my man Dan is, I think he's on a plane right now. Somewhere with a beach, some sun. I am envious, jealous. I'll miss him, but I'll get over it. So I brought in some heavy hitters, man, to fill the big shoes. So usually I kind of creep everybody in, and you know what, man, we're all on the board. We want to get this started, man. This is the first mock of 2021. We've got our boy Theo in the house, the OG Fantasy. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be on here with you guys and talk a little football.
Always happy to have you, man. Randy, the OG, one of the OG GOATs, back in the house. Oh, there's Dan. There's Dan in the house. Randy, welcome back to the GOAT District, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me back. Glad to be here. We just had Dan hanging out with us last week. He broke down some head coaching changes with myself and the man of the hour, Jerry Sinclair, how that impacts your dynasty rosters and what to look for in 2021. But, man, great to be back. It's been too long, buddy.
It's been way too long. I was thinking about that earlier today. Time just flies by and you don't even realize how long it's been. But always glad to have you. For those who don't know, Randy was one of the first guys that started this thing with me with our buddy Nate. And, he's got his thing going on over there in the War Zone. Make sure you follow the People's Podcast over there in the Dynasty War Zone. There's no lack of goodness that they're dropping over there, whether you're into sports betting, football. Randy, I'll pass it back to you later on so you can kind of get more into detail. But you brought a friend, man, and I've had the pleasure of dealing with this man on the back end. He's done a lot of artwork and stuff for me on the back end. So big fan of him. Love dealing with him. Matty Big Chest, welcome to the GOAT District, brother.
It's great to be here, man. That intro video has me hype. I love doing graphics for you, man. You have a good vision and your logo is great. So it's a pleasure to work with you guys, and I'm happy to be here.
No, we appreciate it, man. I always say, and I think Randy will agree, we are blessed in this industry when guys like us that are trying to, you grow brands and you've got stuff like this going on. There's stuff that we don't know how to do. And to have guys like you that not only are willing to do it and, at affordable prices, sometimes helping out a little, but the quality of work that you guys put in it's always blows me away. And you say my vision, I'll give you a couple words, man. And you just come up with something that's just above and beyond what I expected. So I appreciate everything you do. Guys, reach out at Matty Big Chest. If you have any graphic work, if you're on MFL, he'll customize your league site for you. Anything graphic wise, man, reach out to him. Good guy to deal with. And like I said, affordable pricing, which is always, a nice little extra when you're doing work like that. So we appreciate you guys being on today. we're doing a mock draft, guys. I kept it simple. Didn't even send out a show sheet, kept it nice, simple. AKA was too busy to send out a show sheet. But no, in all seriousness, I know the reason I wanted Randy on, I know Randy loves mock drafts. I know he loves mock drafts. And Randy's, he's not shy. He likes to stir the pot. And I just wanted to make sure that he was on for our first mock draft of the year. And we're going to do one QB just because I don't want this to be like a quarterback episode, right? We'll do like a positional type of episode where we'll focus on the position later or on Superflex. But and you guys can chime in with regards to strategy and like where you might start looking at quarterback. But tonight, let's keep it one QB so we can look more at the, positional, the more, receiver, running backs. And then we'll do, if you guys are cool, do tight end preem, just because let's face it, most leagues that we're joining these days are super flex or tight end premium. So this way we touch a bit of everything. But before we get into the nitty gritty, and shout out to Matty, because you guys are about to see a really nice spreadsheet that he put together for us tonight. So we'll have all this on the screen. So if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you like what you see, subscribe. The thumbs up button is always appreciated. And yeah, man, I'm going to go to you first. I'll go to Matty first. First time on the GOAT District, let the people know when you're going into a startup draft, general approach. Are you thinking, I got to win this thing year one? Are you thinking long-term? What's your general strategy coming into a startup?
My general strategy is always changing. I always like to try something new. So whether it be taking all veterans or all rookies in a draft, it's always changing for me. But my favorite strategy would have to be, as Memphis coined it, the productive struggle. That is my favorite thing to do, is to lose year one and then just reap the rewards of draft picks and just draft your team for year two and just dominate.
Interesting. So you're willing to give up the first year, maybe load up on youth picks, that kind of thing, depending on how the startup is done. Some are obviously, some you're going to draft the actual players, some you're drafting the rookie picks, and some, you've got the separate drafts. Randy, I have an idea. I'm in a few leagues with you. I kind of get how you roll, but tell the people general approach coming in. And for those who don't know, Randy's a savage in the fantasy league. So wow. you don't mess with Randy, but let the people know a couple of your secrets.
Well, first of all, you have to know where you're playing. I'm going to give a shout out to one of your sponsors. If you guys are playing on an ffpc league, you can feel safe that league is going to be there next year, the year after that, and the year after that. If you're playing with what my wife calls a bunch of internet friends, you could be playing redraft with a rookie draft. And that means you don't know. How many times have you, and I think we're going to see a lot of these in 2021 here in the next couple of weeks, these people that were bored last off season, they did all these startups and now everybody's bailing because they've got way too many. I couldn't possibly manage all of these. So you have to know your opposition and where you're playing. Now, if I'm playing in a weird, like, is this league going to be here in a year? Then I'm going to go to win in year one. If it's an FFPC league, like you guys play a lot of, then, or if we're starting up another GOAT league, because I know the GOAT leagues have been around for like 5 years at this point, then I'm going to feel comfortable drafting. Maybe I'm going to do productive struggle. It's just going to depend. But whatever you do, have a plan. A bad plan is better than no plan. Before you make that first pick, before you make that first trade, it's got to be, okay, my plan for this draft is to come away with this type of roster. And then do it. Because you can't draft a bunch of old quarterbacks and a bunch of young guys here. And it's like you get done and you take a step back. It's like, redecorating or doing a project in your house and you're like, this looks like shit. And that's what a lot of teams look like if you don't go into your draft with a plan. Know who you're playing with, what are the odds it's going to be together, and then have a plan. Either, to Maddie's point, you're going to go productive struggle and lose year one, or you're going to forego 2022 and try to win it all in 2021. You don't try to live in the middle.
I love what both of you guys are saying. Maddie, I love what you said with regards to trying something new. Theo, how many best balls startups? Like we do 1 million drafts. Theo's buying a new orphan on Dynasty Depot every hour, let alone every day. And I mean, yeah, it's fun to try different stuff. Like, I've been playing fantasy dynasty forever. And yeah, I think I have an idea of how I like to build a roster, but I like to start it differently. And Randy, you touched on it. You can't be in the middle, man. It's just like your team. You don't want to finish in the middle. You're either going to finish at the top or finish at the bottom, and decide, right? So same thing when you're building your roster. Theo, where are you when you're coming into a fantasy or to a startup draft? Are you win now? I mean, I liked what Randy said with regards to kind of gauging the league that you're joining. Is this like a 1-year type of thing, or are we looking more long term?
Well, I think you could go about it several ways. I like what Maddie had to say about the productive struggle. The first year is kind of hard to take, but I have one productive struggle team right now that's holding the first pick, the 5th pick, the 7th pick, the 9th pick, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, CeeDee Lamb, and I love that team. I mean, I think about that team all the time. And then I have other teams where I've been a little more win now mode, and you can go about a dynasty multiple ways, and I think that's the appeal of dynasty football. A win now team can get away from you. I think you can have a win now team with guys that are still going to gain value over the years. I think you don't want to attach your team to too many old players in the early rounds. But for me, most leagues I try to win right away, but the productive struggle is a great way going about it. And I think a lot of times when you're doing a startup in a league like FFPC, you can see how eager your teammates are to trade you the future first round picks early. So a lot of times when that draft order comes out, you make an offer off the top that's huge just for a guy to move up or to get an extra first round pick. So when I have opportunities to do so, I like to gain first rounders for the following season. I know some guys don't mind trading away their future picks in startups. I think you just kind of gauge the room and have a plan, like Randy said. I think you really just you really have to have a plan of attack, and then once the draft starts, you have to stick to it, and you have to keep building value as the rounds keep going on, whether it's productive struggle or whether you're going for a win now.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I made the mistake of trying to print something here. So why don't we get into the mock draft? If you hear my printer go off, guys, please forgive me. I apologize for that. Because I know my screens are going to be completely covered once I drop this beauty that our boy Maddie built here. Let me see if I can pop it while we're all on the screen. There we go. Look at that beauty. So the way we're going to do this today is we're going to do 3 rounds. This is the plan. Okay, it's all based on time, right? Maybe we do less, maybe we do a bit more. Who knows? But the plan is we try to do 3 rounds. We're going to go every 4. So we're basically making 3 picks each in each round. And that's pretty much it. Anyone got any questions, comments, anything? All right.
No, let's fire this thing up.
Let's boogie. So there's no order to this, but I'm going to start since it's my show. And and just to keep it simple, if you guys don't mind, let's go in the order of the pictures, nice and easy. Is that cool? All right. My 101, if anyone follows me on Twitter or anyone knows me, is Jonathan Taylor right now. Trying to find him in Maddie. Maybe I'll add that later. But I just like what Jonathan Taylor has to show, man. If you look at his last 6 weeks, actually, I could probably show it on here. Let me get back in here. But his last 6 weeks, he was a top 10 running back, I believe, every week except for one. Randy, you can correct me, being my fellow Colts.
I think if I remember correctly, from week 13 through 17, now I was doing some research into Cam Akers for our show last night. And if I remember correctly, from weeks 13 through 17, I think he was the running back 1 overall in that time period. There was a time where he lagged. I don't want to say pretty bad. That's not fair. He lagged for a while. And it was very
people were giving up on him halfway through the season. Not even.
It was very reminiscent of Miles Sanders, and Miles Sanders in his rookie year was a league winner, just like last year. Jonathan Taylor was a league winner if you managed to stick with him. And I can't fault you for this pick. I'm actually pulling up the stats for you right now.
There it is. So I've got it right here. So you look at week 11. The reason I started week 11, Randy, is because he's like, okay, yeah, you're probably right. Week 13 is where he really boogies, because week 11 he was RB11, but RB5, RB2, RB15, and even when he was RB15, 19 points, which he got the same amount the following week, and he was RB10. So there's a few guys that had a good week that week. And then the last week, almost 40 points in Jacksonville. I know it's week 17, but again, looking at a rookie and the progression of his first season, I mean, what more could you want? And he just looks awesome, man, in that offense.
Well, I'm looking at it right now. This is just standard PPR scoring. And he scored in that time frame, in that 5-week period, he scored 130.3 PPR points. That was about 16 more than Alvin Kamara and 18 more than Derrick Henry and 40 more than Nick Chubb. I mean, he was an absolute monster, just a monster down the stretch. So I like your pick, sir.
I'm going to let Maddie handle the board because I'm going to keep fumbling over it. All right, Theo, the 102. What does the OG fantasy team do in the second spot?
I'm going with Christian McCaffrey in the 2 spot. I think that right now in Dynasty Startups, it's going to be, for me, Taylor or McCaffrey. You went Taylor, so I'm going McCaffrey. I think that, coming off an injury, you have to like McCaffrey's chances of coming back strong. Even in the 2 games that he played this year, he was 30 points a game. I think we all have faith in Joe Brady in year 2 and that offense to take a step up. I think that there's no reason I would ever doubt Christian McCaffrey coming back. I think he's the 101 or the 102 in Dynasty Startups, and I think he's the 101 in redraft again next year.
Do you like Watson going there, since we're hearing Carolina's probably making the biggest push right now? Does that change anything for you? Does it put him in the 1 spot? Does it drop him down, or no difference?
Well, I saw the reports that he might be included in the trade. If he ends up in Houston, with some kind of a rebuild, and we don't even know who the quarterback is, then that might be a little bit of apprehension. I think you'd have to have a little apprehension there. But I'm going to say he stays in Carolina, and I think that Watson's not a guy who checks down to running backs often. But I think that if you saw a Watson and Christian McCaffrey offense, it would just be so supercharged. The touchdown opportunities would be there. Nobody should be steered away from Christian McCaffrey if he gets a massive quarterback upgrade.
All right. We're going to go to our boy Matty. So we got 2 running backs off the bat. I think that's pretty common right now whether you're doing best ball or startups. Matty, where are you going in the 3 spot here?
So this is a little tricky for me. My top 2 guys just went, and I'm looking at wide receiver. I'm looking at running back. Who's available? I see some Justin Jefferson there if I want to go young. I see DK Metcalf if I want to go young as well. But I'm going to have to stay true to my own rankings and take my guy, DeAndre Swift, because I think his opportunity in 2020 and in 2021 is going to improve.
That was a little louder than I wanted, but you get the air horn of the night right there.
Yes, I think that his talent was the best in the 2020 class, and their offense is going to be sculpted around him. In the intro press conference, they said they're going to be using their players, specializing their talents to make sure that they're always making their offense the most efficient it is. DeAndre Swift's going to be used in that role. They said they're going to put him in the slot. It's going to be fun to watch. I think DeAndre Swift is one of the only pieces on that offense with value.
I like it, man. Does the Goff help or?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it helps him because, Jared Goff is a guy who likes to play in the play action. Jared Goff with Todd Gurley was extremely efficient. So if they can get DeAndre Swift to play a mimic of Todd Gurley, you're going to see some success from Goff and DeAndre Swift.
Nice. I know we have some serious Michigan boys in our GOAT DM, so shout out to them. They love hearing all the goodness with Swift. Randy, go to you in the 4 spot, brother. Where are you going?
I just want to say this as it relates to McCaffrey and DeAndre Swift. Remember, if you want your running back to get a lot of receptions, you don't want a super mobile quarterback. Think of Lamar Jackson. Does he check down a lot? No, actually, he checks down the least amount to the running back. Why? It's read 1, it's read 2, it's run. Whereas Jared Goff is going to be read 1, read 2, check it down to Swift. And Swift's offensive coordinator is Anthony Lynn. See what Anthony Lynn just did most recently in LA with Austin Eckler. Now take a better talent and put him in that Austin Eckler role. I think it was a steal, but I thank you for the layup, Maddie. I'm just going to, just go right off the backboard. Just an easy two-hander. Saquon Barkley, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And to think that this Giants offense could do even more. It was rough in 2021, but I think year 2 in this offense, you got to improve that offensive line, man. Pro Football Focus's 31st ranked offensive line last year, and I like the coaching staff. I know we make fun of the Clapper, but he's not the world's worst OC. I see big things, man. If they add a premium wide receiver in the draft, and they've got a little cap maneuverability, so. That and on top of everything I just said, Saquon Barkley's a badass. So give me Saquon Barkley at the 104.
I like it. I mean, how can you argue with it, right? And any of those first spots he could have went. I mean, it's unfortunate that we lost 2 seasons with such a talent. You guys see me pulling it up here. Cam Akers is a guy I'm loving right now. I'm going to take him in this spot. He just looks dominant. The offense is going to run through him. I love Stafford going there because it opens it up even more for the running game, in my opinion. And I don't know, man. Another guy that, was easy to buy earlier in the season, maybe the first third of the season, approaching the second half. And then when he got his chance, just blew it out of the water. And you saw it, even especially in the playoffs. Just look dominant. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on the Akers pick.
Akers was the guy that I was targeting next. Akers with Stafford is going to be booming, man. I love that pick. Akers is going to be the focus of that offense. Similar to DeAndre Swift in Detroit, they're going to be running play action offense, and it's going to be Cam Akers' show. Memphis, what were you going to say?
I would say we just covered him last night. Jerry and I did in honor of Valentine's Day. We did our all 2021 Sweethearts team, and Cam Akers was one of mine. He averaged 13.9 PPR points a game from week 13 through week 17. That's kind of how I knew the Jonathan Taylor stat was from some other research. And I know it sounds like blasphemy, but with an upgrade at QB, and Matthew Stafford he can move a little bit, but he's not Lamar Jackson, and he'll check the ball down legitimately. Now, he doesn't maybe have 21 touchdown total upside that Todd Gurley did, but to think that he could get 64 receptions, over 2,000 combined rushing and receiving yards, that's not out of the realm of possibility. This is going to be a good offense, and the sky's the limit for Cam Akers. So
and
nothing but good things.
Also good defense, which is also helpful, for that running game, killing the clock or whatever.
And they run the ball. They are one of the run heaviest teams in the league. They are in the top, I think, 10 by percentage of pass to run. They're in the top 10, maybe even top 5.
And maybe that changes a little bit with Stafford coming in, but with that defense, you don't necessarily need to chuck it late in the game when you're protecting a lead, right? All right, we're gonna go back to where are we at now, Theo? All right, brother.
I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. I think I'm very excited about Justin Jefferson this year. I think he's going to be an exciting pick. And I think he's a foundational wide receiver that any dynasty startup team would love to have. I'm in love with his game. I think he had 1,400 yards as a rookie, and I think we haven't seen him peak yet. I think that, as Adam Thielen led the league in touchdown catches, he had about 14. I think you'll see Jefferson take that next step and get into double-digit touchdowns. I think he's a 100 reception guy, and I think he's a foundational receiver for any startup dynasty team this year.
That youth, man, that new shininess, it's hard to avoid. And Blair Andrews is a guy I like reading on RotoViz, talking best ball. I always parallel best ball with Dynasty. I feel like they fit together really nicely. And talking about in his latest article, a lot of people will take the more established guys early in drafts and then the young guys late in the drafts, which is you should be doing the opposite. The high risk guys are the guys that are going to make a difference. And imagine you had Justin Jefferson, or these are all high upside young guys, Akers, Taylor. I mean, McCaffrey and Barkley are there, but these are guys coming off injured seasons, right? Barkley even 2 seasons. So you got to factor that in. And that's what I'm noticing in a lot of my drafts. I mean, the youth is pushing down those Julios, Kamaras, the older guys. Love the Justin Jefferson. I think he's the wide receiver 1 for a lot of guys. I think there's like him and, a couple of, we're doing a mock, so I don't think I'm killing anyone's game here if I drop names, but I think there's like a tier there with those second year guys when you're looking at like DK, Jefferson, Lamb, and AJ Brown. So your second and third year guys. All right, in the 7 spot, Maddie, what do you got?
Yeah, I was going to go Justin Jefferson, but he went a pick before me. So let's go his counterpart in the class, CeeDee Lamb, who you just said. I love his spot in the Cowboys offense. Dak Prescott throwing for about 5,000 yards every year. That's pretty nice. If he comes back, CeeDee Lamb's going to boom. But man, they need Dak back badly. So this pick is with the anticipation of Dak coming back.
Anything to add on the Dallas situation, guys? I find it interesting because you've got Gallup there, who I find is like a nice value right now. People are maybe sleeping on him. You've got Cooper there, who's still a top 12, top 15 receiver, and we have the question marks with Dak. But guys, this is Dynasty, and I mean CeeDee Lamb again looking like a baller as a rookie. So love the pick there, Matty.
We can just simply cover my show notes from last night because CeeDee Lamb was also one of my 2021 sweethearts. This is a guy who did not even play. He did not even play 65% of the snaps for Dallas as a rookie, but yet managed to convert 111 targets into 74 catches and had maybe the quietest 935 receiving yards of any rookie wide receiver out there. And I think he's just a little too overshadowed because of the success of Justin Jefferson, the success of Chase Claypool, maybe even T. Higgins. And here's a guy who had 935 yards. Is it a stretch? Is it a stretch of the imagination to say that he could have had 1,135 yards had Dak played the entire season? I don't think it's a stretch at all. Not when they're running out crumb bums and shoe clerks named Ben DiNucci, Andy Dalton, and some other guys that'll be waxing cars and selling insurance in about 18 months. No, dude, CeeDee Lamb is absolutely going to melt faces. And due to cap reasons, Amari Cooper, I think I've heard trade rumors on both Amari and Gallup like a pre-draft trade. And I could really see if Dallas struggles to compete this year, I could see Dallas potentially moving Amari around the trade deadline in season to a contender who needs some firepower. The future is CeeDee Lamb in Dallas because when you got to pay Dak all that money, you're paying Zeke all that scratch, you got to figure out where to save money where you can. And it won't be long before that 111 targets turns into 145 targets. And you've got a legit baller in a great stadium, in a great division, warm weather. Yeah, that matters. Why does that matter? Think about all the guys in Cleveland who got killed by 3 horrible wind and rain games in a row. It just kills your fantasy production. So I love the CeeDee Lamb pick. Maddie, you did it again.
Yeah, I think CeeDee Lamb is quarterback proof. And just getting back to last year, with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb was over 17 points a game. Dak goes down the rest of the year. I believe he was around 12 points a game with the Andy Dalton et al. Quarterbacks that were put in there. So I think that they've got to get it done with Dak. But I think CeeDee Lamb is a quarterback-proof, extremely talented receiver, and I think he's right there with Jefferson last year. I think they're both phenomenal talents.
Now, how about this take? I heard on I can't remember what podcast it was, but they were talking about Jerry Jones and his drafting style. What if Dallas ends up with Kyle Pitts in that offense with CeeDee Lamb, let's say Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup as well, Is that not the most deadly offense?
It would be unbelievable.
I mean, you're going to have to score 1 million points because your defense is going to continue to be horrible. Yeah. I mean, Dan Quinn is a defensive coordinator upgrade, but he's not going to coach with a magic wand. He didn't get his DC license at Hogwarts. I mean, you've got to at some point put some talent on that defensive side of the ball if you want to compete. It doesn't have to be a lot, but a team that again doesn't have a lot of doesn't have a lot of cap capital. Because, again, they've got to pay Dak. They've got some other moves to make. You've got to use those picks. And at some point, even if it's the best player available, they just paid Blake Jarwin. I think it's neat to fantasy draft a guy like Kyle Pitts to Dallas. But they've got some offensive line issues. They've got major defensive issues. But you do paint a fun fantasy land draft scenario with Kyle Pitts to the Dallas Cowboys. I think I'm
right.
up.
I wasn't sure. You're up, brother.
All right. Yeah. This would come down to if I was planning on competing in year one with this roster at the 108, but I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. I know he's quote unquote old, but dude, Tyreek Hill's not even 27. He won't be 27 until March. And let's be honest, he's attached to Patrick Mahomes. This is a guy who's had 3 seasons of basically 1,200 receiving yards or better. He's had 9 touchdowns or more. This is rushing and receiving combined. He's had 9, 13, 17, and 12 in 3 of his better seasons. I mean, the guy's a killer. I'm looking at 1,200, 1,500, 1,300, 1,350 receiving yards. And he's never even had a 100 reception year. I know they'll continue to get other people involved, but the guy's going to win you weeks. He's very rarely going to hurt you. I'm going to attach myself to excellence in a division where scoring is going to continue to be at a premium. Oakland's trying to build an offense to compete. It came out today that Denver is looking for a quarterback upgrade to go with Judy and Sutton and Fant. And we know what the Chargers are bringing in LA. So we know this team's going to continue to score and continue to put points on the board. And considering that he's still, barely, but still, on the right side of the wide receiver age apex, I'm going to go Tyreek Hill.
Jerry loves you, man. I think Jerry loves that pick.
Jerry, shout out to Jerry, man. We tried to get him on, but he was just asking too much. So we had to pass. We had to go to Maddie. No, I'm joking.
Jerry's not cheap. He's not cheap labor. He's very highly opinionated of himself. But hey, he's damn good.
I love Jerry. I miss his beard though. I kind of like Jerry with the beard. But all right, I was gonna go one way, but I'm gonna. I got like 2 guys that are kind of tied here, and I'm gonna go one way because I'm hoping my other. Actually, no. Wait, Theo's after me. That changes the game a little bit. You know what? I'm going to go Antonio Brown. Imagine that, eh?
I was like,
guys, I'm going to
JD's in a DeLorean. He just hit 88 miles an hour.
Was that clickbait? No, I'm going Antonio Gibson, guys. I know he's a 3rd rounder. I know this is probably high for him. Yeah, that was the other guy I was looking at. Dan, shout out to Dan with his 101. I consider Gibson in there with the Akers, the Swifts, maybe not necessarily the Taylors, just because I love Taylor above those guys, but I consider him in the same tier. And when I'm doing these drafts, I'm really doing it based on tiers versus rankings. So, yes, again, similar to Randy, depending on what I want to do here, I could go with the running back or the receiver, but he's the last one for me that's in that tier. And what I'm looking for is actually, no, there's one more guy that's in that tier, but I'm looking at youth with the running back. If there's one position that I'm an ageist with, it's running back. The 25-year-old Clift, the 25-year Clift is the truth. Yeah, there's Derrick Henrys out there, and there's, exceptions when we're looking at guys with coming off injuries, that kind of thing with CMC and Barkley. But in general, I'm a sucker for the new shiny running back, specifically the ones that have shown it in their rookie seasons, especially if I was high on them going into the rookie season. So Akers, JT, definitely 2 of those guys. And the third guy on that list is Antonio Gibson. So, yeah, maybe I reach a bit, but I'm getting my guy at the 109 here.
Another guy that I had very high on my sweethearts team last year. I mean, I'm just sitting here going over my notes. I feel like JD and you guys are picking my pocket. He is one of a handful of rookies at the running back position last year who had over 1,000 combined rushing and receiving yards. Yes, he was one of them. He's definitely going to get a quarterback upgrade at some point. We don't know who that is. And no offense to the guy, the comeback player of the year award. I'm drawing a blank.
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith.
I think I was going to say Andy Smith, but I knew that wasn't right. You know, they can rename the comeback player of the year award after him, but they're going to get a quarterback upgrade. That's Pro Football Focus's 6th best offensive line. And just do your research into Scott Turner. Scott Turner is son of Norv Turner. The Norv Turner family uses a bell cow running back. Yeah, he had to mix in with the crumb bums and shoe clerks like J.D. McKissick and Peyton Barber. Those guys will not be in his way. Look for his snap shares to increase. And big things, man. Just big things for Antonio. A little high. I don't hate it, because if you're going to go running back, you got to get a running back on that rookie deal. We'll talk about some other guys here in a bit, but that's a bold pick, but I don't hate the pick.
RB7 dominator rating. He's for me, especially like the defense. Again, I like to have a running back with a good defense, and that's a defensive team that's going to run the ball. Theo, anything to add, brother?
I like the aggressive pick of Gibson. I think that the McKissick usage will go down a bit. I guess as Gibson gets a little more comfortable with the Turner offense. I mean, McKissick had 80 receptions last year. That goes down to 55 next year, and Gibson picks up 15, 20 receptions. And I think that the chance for more goal line opportunities, you have to like Gibson as a high upside guy. I mean, athletically, he's all there. He showed great vision, but we all remember his weak winning upside. That Dallas game was just unbelievable. Thanksgiving, the whole country saw Gibson just go nuts. And I think we could see a couple more games like that next year. I mean, he's such an elusive player for a 230-pound running back. It's exciting to think about him in an improving offense.
All right, shout out to Dan, whose pants what was that? His pants suddenly became uncomfortable after Matty's Pitts projection. So he's liking that. I know Dan loving the tight end preems out there in the FFPC land. So he's loving the Pitts projection. I shy away from those rookie tight ends personally, but yeah, Theo, where are you going next, brother?
So I'm going with AJ Brown, who I considered in the whole realm of the Jeffersons and the Lambs. AJ's 23 and a half now. I think that we'll see the Titans offense start shifting to a more AJ Brown centered offense as opposed to an all Derrick Henry offense. I think there's also a chance that this year we see his targets go nuts compared to last year. Corey Davis has been linked to Baltimore. There's some big reports coming out of Baltimore that they're targeting Corey Davis heavily. I think he's going to be a Baltimore Raven. And I think it's going to be hard for them to re-sign John Smith. John, who didn't get a lot of targets, but he had a number of touchdowns. I think that AJ, no matter how much work Derrick Henry gets, AJ is going to have a smash year this year. I've been taking him in the second round of a lot of best balls, and I feel great about it. I think he's going to settle into a second-round pick in redraft. But I think in Dynasty, he's a first-rounder. I think he's a stud, and he's a great addition to any Dynasty startup team.
That would have been my pick if I didn't take Gibson. He's my wide receiver too, behind Jefferson. Personally, I love the pick. AJ, I mean, he was injured last year, man, and look at the numbers he put up. You know what I mean? And like you said, that offense keeps getting better, and he's a bigger part of that. Before we go to Matty, Randy, anything to add on the AJB Dan's 101?
Well, that was originally who I thought you took when you took Antonio Gibson, because you said Antonio Brown, and I thought you were going to correct and say AJ Brown, but instead you hit me with a swerve and you hit me with Antonio Gibson.
I just realized
we just turned those guys into like three guys. It's like Antonio Gibson, AJ Brown. But no, I have no problem with this. I'm curious to see what Todd Downing, the new OC in Tennessee, is going to do now that Arthur Smith went to Atlanta. But if he's got a brain in his head, you feed the best player. So I love A.J. Brown. I'm looking at my personal rankings right now. I have A.J. Brown as my wide receiver 4 off of the board, and I probably should have him at wide receiver 3 if I were to redo them. So, yeah, I like that pick. And the other 2 are gone. My wide receiver 1 is Tyreek Hill. My wide receiver 2 is CeeDee Lamb. So that's the sweet spot if you're going wide receiver, because you're going to get a lot of mileage out of him.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Randy. I know, like best ball, the first 4 or 5 rounds, you try to, in general, you try to stay a little safer in a way. You know, you don't want to lose any of those. You don't want to invest highly, right, that high and not get the production that you're paying for. So you usually go to those more locked in positions. Is that something you're looking for in Dynasty as well when you're doing a startup, like you're talking about with the receiver position right now?
You know, I'm always going to use Todd Gurley, and you could use a lot of other examples, but the running back position, you know, it was literally like 2.5, 3 seasons ago where Todd Gurley was the 101 with a bullet. Now you couldn't get a popcorn fart for Todd Gurley. But you know what? 3 seasons ago, Davante Adams was a damn good dynasty asset. And absolutely. And then today, Davante Adams is still a good dynasty asset. You can't go wrong with a good wide receiver. Now, when I say good, I mean like a Tyreek Hill, a Davante Adams, and A.J. Brown, because they're going to produce points, and points is how you win games. So, no, I think it's a fantastic pick. I love A.J. Brown.
I see Maddie's already got his guy in, and that's kind of the last guy in that tier, right, Maddie?
Yeah, and this pick is brought to you by ViridianGlobal.com.
Nice.
Use code Maddie at checkout to save 15% on your first purchase. Had to sneak it in there. It's DK Metcalf. I'm just trying to snipe Memphis here. The wide receiver 3 or something for him. I'm not sure, but I like DK Metcalf. He's my wide receiver 2. And to get him at the 111, I feel like that is a steal in the first round. Because I'm going to be able to wrap around and get a good player at the 202. So it's a good pick, and 1,400 yards is impressive, and he's only going to grow from there. I'm excited to see what happens with Russ, because I don't want to see him moved. I like him in Seattle, but they need a lot of pieces on that team. They have a lot of needs.
Anything to add on the pick before we go to Randy? So there's the board, guys. Randy's about to make the last pick of the first round. We've got JT, CMC, Swift, Barkley, Akers, Jefferson, Lamb, Tyreek, Antonio Gibson, AJB, and DK Metcalf. Randy, where are you going in that last spot?
Now, we said this is tight end premium. I'm assuming we're gonna go like 1.5 tight end premium. It wouldn't matter. I'm going with my main man, George Kittle. And if people want to know what's the difference between George Kittle and Travis Kelsey, about 4 years. They were both born in the month of October. The difference is that George Kittle's 27 and Travis Kelsey's 31. That's the difference for me. This is Dynasty. And when you have one of those legit big 3 tight ends, Waller has since replaced Zach Ertz in the big 3, in my humble opinion. That's a cheat code. That is a cheat code of epic proportions and a 1.5 per reception premium. Guys like George Kittle averaged 18.6 points a game. Waller averaged 20.7 and Kelsey 24.3. The guy in 4th place, Mark Andrews, 14.2 points a game. You're getting a 4.5 point, advantage over your competition. It is the true cheat code in Dynasty when you have one of the big 3 tight ends in a tight end premium. So for me, the NCAA continues to do a great job of giving us an influx of wide receivers and running backs every year, as long as I have my rookie picks. But you know what? To your point about Pitts coming in, we don't know what these rookies tight ends are going to do. We think they're going to be great. But TJ Hawkinson, who I think we all love, he's yet to, he's had a good year. I think he was tight end 3 last year, but he's not had a great year. George Kittle can give me great years. So I'm going to take a clear advantage over the competition, and I'm going Mr. Kittle.
Yeah, this is why Randy and I can never really get trades done and stuff because, yeah, he sniped my ass. So congratulations. I love the pick. I mean, I'm not as concerned with Kelsey's age at the tight end position. I hear what you're saying. The consistency, though, that Kelsey gives you, especially if you're an FFPC player that, you've seen. I've got Kittle on my main dynasty teams, let's say on FFPC. He's that piece that I had to go get, the luxury piece that I really wanted on my contenders. And I love me some Kittle. Theo, are you on board with Randy with Kittle being ahead of Kelsey? I know you're a big FFPC guy as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think Kittle is great value right there. They gave him the monster contract. You have nothing to worry about with him. He's going to get an upgrade at quarterback at some point. I like the fact that he has wide receivers next to him now. I think that Brandon Ayuk is a stud. I'm not sure if his name is going to come up in the third round or so in our draft tonight, but I think he's right in that level. And I think that Deebo Samuel and Ayuk with Kittle, I think is actually going to help Kittle. The guy he's an unbelievable player, and he's never had a huge touchdown season. I think that he's due for a massive touchdown season at some point. We're going to see him with the 10 touchdown season. And I think he's still got the path to tight end 1 overall, and he's going to be there for a long time. It's a no-brainer pick for tight end premium.
All right. So starting the second round, where are we at right now? We're at,
201. Are we snaking it?
Yeah, we'll come back around. But Matty, you talked about Viridian Global. So why don't we take a quick second? I know we've got some Dynasty War Zone merch on there. Matty, you've got a nice hat. Here, let me remove this here. You've got a nice hat and hoodie on. Look, Viridian Global, Randy, I know you and I both, man, we looked for how long somewhere, a good company to team up with. And it's easier said than done. And these guys they check off all the marks, just good people, quality products, awesome to work with. Randy, I'll let you add anything you want before we finish this plug over here.
No, you're right. It is a good business partner is hard to find. People, Jerry and I will have been doing the War Zone for 3 years this coming June, like July 4th range. And people have been like, hey, when are you going to get merch? When are you going to get merch? When are you going to get merch? I'm like, guys, I would love to have merch, but I don't have time to source it anywhere locally. And then, like an angel from heaven, the folks from Will and the gang from Viridian Global just happened upon us. And, Maddie, you were giving Maddie a lot of props earlier. Maddie does an amazing job. The Air Force themed DWZ logo, both on the banner behind me and on Maddie's hat, that was like something that I wanted, but Maddie, brought to life. And Maddie brought it to life on the computer screen, but the guys at Viridian Global brought it to life from an apparel branding standpoint. The blanks, that's the term that I worked in retail and in retail management and buying for a long time. The term is blanks. The blanks that they use from the hoodies to the tees to the hat are top notch. So if you're looking for quality merch that's going to last to support your favorite podcast, whether it's the Dynasty War Zone, whether it's the GOAT District, they have other stuff on there that, that are, cute play on players' names, like the TJ Hawkamania. That's my favorite shirt. The Hawkamania shirt. I love that. The Aaron Godgers. So much more over at Viridian Global. It's good stuff. You're supporting good people. And it just looks good, man. It's got an athletic cut. It doesn't look like bed sheets. Look at this guy. Look at this guy with the GOAT long sleeve.
This is one of Maddie's creations, actually, the logo and the back here. So you got the chant, the number 1, the 112, and the GOAT. Sorry, Ray.
But my thing is like, if you're watching live on YouTube, look at how it fits the model in the picture. It doesn't hang off of him like trash bags. It looks like nice fitting gear. It's solid stuff, man. We've all seen that guy who's like, maybe he owns a small business. He owns a roofing company in your local area, and he's got Billy Bob's Roof Shack. and it just looks horrible. It looks like he ironed it with starch. Look at this hat. Maddie, we got to step up our graphics game at the Dynasty War Zone. Look at this. This is
so, guys. Just so you know, for the month of February, if you haven't already participated, if you buy any top, like I showed you guys right here, man, the champ shirt, the golden goat head. If you won your league this year in 2020, be proud. Second of all, flex that shit, son. Go grab a shirt, the golden goat. Show everybody you won 2020. You will get entered to win a free goat hat of your choice. We got toques, caps, flat caps, anything you want. Fitted one like Randy's Red Sox hat there. And again, guys, if you're looking for any graphic work while we're at it, Matty Big Chest, shout out to him for he's a big part of. I know he works with Viridian on a lot of these pieces. He's got his own pieces, like Randy said. The DWZ merch is awesome. So go check out viridianglobal.com/collections/Goat District and then / what's yours, Randy? Is it just Dynasty War Zone?
Yeah, it's the same. It's Dynasty War Zone. I know you to find the TJ Hawkamania shirt, which is in a very familiar font. If you're smelling what I'm stepping in, you just have to search TJ. You just have to search, the player collection, and they've got. And this is not my stuff or the Goat District stuff. They have like the Terry McLaren shirt.
Oh yeah, they got
so much. They got so much. The one they've been advertising a lot is the I Have Chubb, the Nick Chubb T-shirt. It's
shout out to Mark. Mark also puts a lot of that graphic work.
It's cool stuff, man. Just go to Viridian Global, cruise around the site, and if you buy anything, if you're a first time buyer, use that code Matty MATTY. Save a couple of bucks, man. Save some doll hairs.
All right, guys. Shout out to the global Viridian Global crew, Will, Mark, and guys, go check it out. Support the brands that you guys like to listen to and follow on Twitter. All right, let's go back to the big board, guys. We've finished round 1. We're going into round 2 right now. We've got one tight end off the board. We've got a pretty good mix, I would say, of running backs and receivers. Very different than last year, right, guys? Like just last year, just peppered with running backs in the first round, and a lot of people got burned. So the 2-1 right now, is that my pick? All right.
It just depends if you want to snake it or just want to run one.
You want to snake it, Matty? You want to go next? Is he there? Or did he?
Yeah, I'm here. Let's snake it. Let's snake it so we can keep our teams.
I love it.
All right. So if I was drafting this team and I had George Kittle. I know people are asking at home. People are asking Memphis, why are you not taking Alvin Kamara? Why are you not taking Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb? And listen, guys, I totally understand. Those are legitimate questions. And I think we're in the range where those guys are going to start popping off the board left, right, and center. But I'm going to take a leap of faith. I am going to go with a guy that's probably going to blow your mind a little bit ahead of those guys, and I'm going to go Miles Sanders, still on a rookie contract. I don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. I'm about 99.9% Carson Wentz will be gone, although Les Bowen, a well-respected Philadelphia journalist, stated today that he thinks Philadelphia will take a QB at 6. Regardless of what they do. Nick Sirianni, the new head coach, he watched a guy named Jonathan Taylor and how Frank Reich used him. He brought in Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator most recently of the LA Chargers, and we saw how they used Austin Eckler. If Miles Sanders gets that kind of work in an offense, and how do you help a young quarterback? Not how Doug Peterson helped Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts last year by running the ball the 5th most by percentage in the league. You help a young quarterback, whether it be Jalen Hurts or a rookie, by leaning on the run game and giving them some support. So I really expect an uptick in receptions. I expect an uptick in play, and I love Miles Sanders. I think at this turn, again, I know the questions will come about some of the other guys. We'll address those as they come up. But for me, at this point, I would take Miles Sanders to pair with George Kittle.
Yeah, whether we went snake or the other way, I was taking Sanders next. So I love that pick. I think the fact that last year was was not that great, allows Fantasyland to get Sanders at a value. But yeah, I mean, Sanders is he's, what is he, 23, I believe. And he just looks so explosive out there. To me, he's like a mini Barkley. He's like a mini. You see him running down the sidelines, catching 30-yard bombs, and he's a really nice piece. Especially you're pairing him up with Kittle. I love that combo.
Yeah, he's 23. He'll be 24 in May. So he's a couple of years south of what's considered the the running back age apex of 25.
Yeah, because personally, I'm not planning more than 2 years when you're looking at a running back, right? Because I
would agree.
You talked about Gurley and those kind of like overnight loss of value. So we're going back to Matty here with DK Metcalf. Who are you gonna pair with the receiver out in Seattle?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the positions. The first quarterback has not come off the board yet, but it's still not going to come off the board because pairing with DK Metcalf, we're going with DJ Moore. This man has 2 back-to-back 1,300-yard all-purpose yard seasons. That's impressive for me from a wide receiver who didn't have many touchdowns. He had a lot of yards. He's a field stretcher in the Joe Brady offense. Joe Brady didn't get hired as a head coach, so he's coming back. And I think that's a benefit for DJ Moore in that offense, and he's going to only be better next year once he learns the scheme a little more. Because, Robbie Anderson walked in right away and took the wide receiver 1 job for the red zone. DJ Moore's got to be a little more used in the red zone because he is very good.
What do you guys think of DJ Moore? I like the pick. I think DJ Moore's undervalued right now. I just actually made a trade for DJ Moore, I think yesterday in the OG GOAT with our boy, shout out to @theshiva82, our boy Eric. I sent CEH Clyde Edwards for DJ Moore straight up.
Smash accept.
Very nice.
I like that.
So AJ Brown, who are you going to pair up with AJ Brown, Theo?
So I'm going to go with a dangerous age apex, and I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara. I think this is the time that you start. He's great value at this point. He's 25 and a half. I mean, we all know his season he had last year. There's some apprehension in the fantasy community about who his quarterback will be next year. I think that there's obvious concerns with Taysom Hill-led offense, but I think it's going to. My prediction is going to be Jameis Winston seeing a lot of time next year, and I think that Alvin Kamara will continue to produce. I mean, we all know what the guy is capable of as a receiver, and I think that rushing-wise, the guy had 16 touchdowns last year. I think he's got several good seasons left. I think he'll age well, and I think that he won't lose value as an older player because he's such a great receiver. I don't think he's one of these backs that's going to disappear. So I'd be very comfortable taking him in the early second of startup.
I like it. I mean, you can't argue with Kamara. There's a lot of questions there, which is probably why he's creeping into the second, right? Whether you're looking at best ball or Dino. You guys have anything to add on Kamara? How do you guys feel about that situation in New Orleans as we move into 2021?
I feel like this is where you should be taking him right now. I've seen him go as high as like 104, and I get it. We want to feel safe. We want to feel safe when we're making these picks, and Kamara is not as safe as he used to be. I know what he just did, but again, he's going into year 5. He's got the guaranteed money. I'm not saying he's going to break down, but at some point, the return on investment is going to be troublesome. I love getting him here. I think this is a great pairing for this team. This is a fair spot. I think this is a very good draft pick.
Oh man. See, I'm in a spot right now where, again, kind of what Randy talked about at the the top of the show, which is which direction are you go? And there's one running back that's, I mean, he's going to be at the top of the queue at this point in a draft. The problem with me is, again, the age, but you're looking at another running back. To me, I think people forget what is that? The thread on the tires. When a guy's out for a couple seasons, that thread didn't get worn out. Yeah, maybe it's a factor. Maybe you put it against him in regards to the injury factor. So I'm going back on my word. But if this guy's falling to me in the second round at this point, I got to take Dalvin Cook. I mean, what was the RB3 last year? He's a top 5 RB as long as he's healthy. That offense is going to run through him and JJ out there in Minnesota. And again, you're at this point of the draft, you're kind of figuring out where you want to go. I like having the youth in Gibson. And again, I'm not looking that far out with running back. So if I can get another 2 solid years out of Dalvin, maybe I make a run with him this year and trade him in the offseason, something like that. I think the upside and again, 23 points average a week is pretty legit when you're looking at the running back position. Who's the Tyreek Hill? We're going back.
Oh, I'm back on the clock.
You're back on the clock, sir.
I'm back on the clock. Well, so I've got Tyreek Hill, and I don't want the running back position to get away from me. I am going to go with my man, Nicholas Chubb. Now, Nick Chubb is a guy that, he's been over 1,000 yards 3 years in a row. Really started to get involved a little bit in the passing game. I know Kareem Hunt is still there, but over his last 5 games, he didn't play much in week 17. I guess he had 14 rushes, but over his last 5 out of 6 games, he was getting 3, 1, 2, 2, 5 receptions, and he was getting 32, 26, 21, 16, 38. He's getting more involved in the passing game, and it feels like Kareem Hunt is more of like a complementary piece than like a co-running back. Still incredibly young. He's only 25 years old. He just turned 25, and that would be a nice pairing. I think this would be a win-now team, and he's still on a rookie deal. And if for some reason this team were to have a bad start, Nick Chubb is someone that you could always flip a good running back to a contender. So I would have a couple of ways of using this piece, but yeah, I would go Nick Chubb here because you got to get that one good running back on every team.
Agreed. No, I like the pick there. I think Chubb is he's like you said, like a dependable, and the fact that Hunt's there kind of gives him maybe adds to the longevity, with regards to them splitting. I mean, the best 1-2 punch probably in the NFL in a backfield. And again, going back to one of those running offenses with a good defense, and that's definitely. And I already see Maddie's guy; he's typing it in there. I hesitated on this guy, so I'm curious to hear your pick to pair with CD.
Yeah, man. So Memphis just touched on it. You don't want to let the running back position get away from you. And I feel like it's just gotten away from me with the run that we've gone on from Miles Sanders to Nick Chubb. J.K. Dobbins is going to be my pick here, and I don't like it, but I know that it's better than Josh Jacobs. So give me J.K. Dobbins on a prayer. CeeDee Lamb is young. I need to get a young running back as well. So J.K. Dobbins just makes sense here.
And that's where you see kind of where as much as you go in with a plan, and Randy's right, you should have a plan. You kind of got to let the draft develop itself and kind of let it, let guys fall to you. And this is, the last 3-4 guys, I would say it's hard to let these guys go any further, and again, you're looking at Dobbins, 22 years old. Yeah. Randy touched on his limitations with a guy like Lamar at quarterback in that offense. He's, I guess you could say he's kind of capped with his upside in the current situation. Do you guys see that changing with Dobbins?
I'm very bullish on Dobbins this year. I think they've got to figure it out in the offseason. I think there's a chance that we could see Gus Edwards on another team next year. And I think that it's a little bit of self-scouting will go a long way for the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they've got a weapon back there with Dobbins. They've just lost in 2 back-to-back playoffs. They've gone down in games that they would have won. And I think they need to take a look in the mirror, and I think they need to unleash Dobbins. I think he's a stud. He's got breakaway ability, and I look forward to seeing him in year 2 next to Lamar. I think it's exciting, and I think that it's going to happen. And I think that people should still be aggressive with what they do with Dobbins in drafts. Go after him, go get him. If it hits, it's going to hit huge. He's the kind of guy that can put up huge touchdown numbers next year. And if it misses, the guy's a running back too. He's going to be in a little bit of a committee, but he's talented enough to make 15 touches a game count. But if he gets 20 touches a game, look out.
Anything to add before we go back to Maddie? All right, Maddie, who you pairing with JJ?
No, JJ was my pick.
That would be Theo.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, man.
No problem. I'm going to go with Javonte Williams, and I think it's another one of these guys where the age X is not what you want it to be, but with Javonte, we all saw how phenomenal his level of play is right now. He's 28 years old. I think you're going to get at least one more season of him attached to Aaron Rodgers, hopefully more. And he is just such a beast. The guy is a week winner. And I've already added Justin Jefferson, so I have a very good young player, and I combine him with a 20-year-old stud. I think I would have 2 of the top 5 scoring wide receivers in football next year. And running back would get away from me if this was my first top 2 picks, but I would have 2 wide receivers that I just love.
Can't argue with the wide receiver 1 in the mid-second round. All right. Before I pair up my acres, anything to add on Adams, guys? Any concerns with the Rodgers situation? Do you guys just see that being whatever, and Rodgers going to come back, no issues? Anything on the quarterback situation there, Randy?
I think Aaron Rodgers is the greatest magician in football. Instead of having to answer, "Hey, dude, why do you have a 1-4 record in the NFC Championship game?" like Donovan McNabb, he just talks about his future, and then we forget all about the fact that he's 1-4 in the NFC Championship game. He waves his hand and like a Jedi mind trick. Hey, we're not going to talk about this, and we're like, "Hey, Aaron, we're not going to talk about that." I think it's fine. He's not going anywhere. I think it was his way of pointing out that he would like a little bit more help. I think it was his way of asking for some more money. He is no longer in the top 3 at the quarterback position, if I remember correctly. That is Deshaun Watson, Russ Wilson, and someone else. But he's not in the top 3. He could get a little bit of extra money. They could rearrange his deal for him. So no, Aaron Rodgers isn't going anywhere. He's 37, and he may get you 2 more years.
All right, so I got to pair up acres. I'm definitely going to Mr. Diggs out there in Buffalo. Won me him and Adams specifically won me. I would say at least 3 leagues. I don't know, man. What more do you want? Like we all knew Diggs could do it, and he had the talent. He got the opportunity out there in Buffalo. People didn't like it. You could see last offseason, people were kind of shying away from Diggs out there in Buffalo. And I would say that bit people in the behind, right? So I like what's happening in Buffalo. I like that they're launching the ball more. They're trusting Josh Allen more. I don't see that changing going into this season with the success they've had. Maybe they tighten up in other areas, like bringing a running back, something like that. How do you guys feel about Diggs out there in Buffalo?
He wasn't making it one more pick. He was definitely next on my board. So I think he's a steal. I actually had him a little bit ahead of Adams just based on a little bit of youth. But you're splitting hairs. 2 great choices.
All right. You hear that from Randy? You pat yourself on the back, right, when you make a pick. All right, guys. We're kind of creeping into that back end of the second.
I see. This is what happens when you let the draft come to you. So I'm taking Saquon Barkley. It's a 1 QB league, but I let the draft come to me. I am going to take another tight end because I've got to treat this like a completely different team. I will pair Saquon Barkley with Travis Kelsey, and because I've made this declaration, I will have to make sure that I'm building this team to win in 2021 and no later than 2022. Tight end premium, Travis Kelsey is one of, if not the most highest scoring players. It depends on the format. I play in a lot of 1.75 PPR, but man, just a true stud at any position. And I'm pulling it up right now. I'm trying to filibuster a little bit. If you go in a pure points per game average, I mean, it's literally Travis Kelsey has the 8th most. It was Josh Allen had more, Mahomes, Kamara, Devontae Adams, Dak Prescott, end of list. That's the guys who had more points per game than Travis Kelsey, and I get to pair that dude up with Saquon Barkley. I'm going to give myself a chance to win a championship with this team in year one. I may have to figure out some youth later as I get deeper in the draft. Maybe I start drafting some rookie picks. Maybe I start taking some swings at some younger wide receivers. But these two combined are going to give me a shot to win the ship in year one.
I like that pick. It was either one of those two guys. Theo, anything to add on Kelsey?
No, I mean, he's a stud, and he's 31 years old. People act like he's some old man. The guy is going to play a long time in this league. He's going to play as long as he wants. He's a unbelievable route runner. He's a technician, and I think we can all remind ourselves of another tight end in Kansas City, Tony Gonzalez, how he aged in the league. I don't think that Kelsey is quite the athlete Gonzalez was, but he's just as good a technician, and I think you'll see Kelsey productive well past 35.
All right, so we are back to our boy Matty to pair up with his RB out there in Detroit and Swift. What do you got for us?
And this is an exciting pick for me. This wide receiver is number 1 in air yards in 2020. He's number 1 in deep targets in 2020. He's number 2 in red zone targets in 2020. This is Calvin Ridley.
Oh, that's Dan's 101. I love it.
And he's paired with DeAndre Swift. I can't feel any better about this team. This team just feels good to me. Calvin Ridley's going to be stepping into that wide receiver 1 role eventually, right? Julio's got to be gone at some point. But Calvin Ridley's gotten the targets. He's gotten the snap shares. 83% snap share is pretty impressive. I like Calvin Ridley, and I was wrong on him coming out, so I'm going to be taking him in a lot of startups this year.
I think a lot of people were wrong on him coming out, just based on what I heard. But hey, man, he's, like you said, Julio's on the way out-ish, injuries, all that kind of stuff. Opportunity's definitely there. Ryan's there for now, and they gotta launch that ball around. What do you guys think about the Ridley pick? I love it.
It's a great pick. I mean, he's tremendous value right there. He overtook Julio last year as the alpha. I think, whatever Julio gives you this year, it's not going to affect Ridley. Ridley's had another year of Matt Ryan, and I think that we're all kind of excited about what Arthur Smith's going to do in Atlanta, and I think Ridley's the focal point of that team.
He missed a game due to injury, and then he had one game where he literally had a double zero. He had no catches for no yards. And in spite of missing a game and a double zero, he still finished as the wide receiver 5 in PPR. He got outscored by DeAndre Hopkins by 6 points. That's how good this guy did. I mean, he could have easily have been in that, that top 3. And, he's got an offensive minded head coach. And a lot to be excited about with Calvin Ridley. He is, he's into his prime. He was a little bit older as a rookie. He just turned 26, but, he's got a couple of years of prime production ahead of him. Big time stud. Big time.
All right, CMC. If my memory is correct, that was the OG of fantasy. Who are you pairing up with McCaffrey out there, Carolina?
I'm going to make a aggressive pick here, and I'm going to go Najee Harris. There's a few other running backs here that I could consider, but Harris, I think, is going to make an instant impact as a rookie. I think that what I like most about him, that I think is the most appealing thing about him, is that you're talking about a 230-pound back that can catch the ball so well. He had over 40 receptions last year. Reminds me a little bit of Steven Jackson, the old Atlanta running back. And I think that he's a solid pick here. I mean, it's not giving anything away. I'm sure these guys are going to go. But if you start looking at the Joe Mixons, the Zekes, the Jacobs, the other running backs that are in this, potential third-round range, I think Harris, to me, has the highest upside over the next few years because he's already ready to contribute as a receiver, and he's a 230-pound back that I think could make a real big impact this year and for a few more years. I think that the one thing about him that's interesting is he's going to be a 23-year-old rookie, which a lot of people are not into. Obviously you'd prefer a guy like Akers comes in the league as a 20-year-old, but I'm not overly concerned about that. I think that Harris will have a nice, productive rookie contract.
Anything to add on the first rookie pick of the night? I was going to ask you guys, maybe add to your answer to this if you have one. What's your approach with rookies when you're coming into these drafts? I know I find, if you could be the first one to remember that rookies are part of the draft, a lot of the time that's your edge if you do want to get one early. But how do you feel about Harris here, and how do you feel about rookies in general when you're doing startups? Randy, I'll go to you first, brother.
Me personally, I want to draft as soon as possible. I mean, I host a podcast. I research this stuff all the time. I've got a clear advantage. We all played poker at some point. Any game with incomplete information, the more information that becomes available. So you think about in poker, you catch the turn, you catch the river, there's more information. Same thing, you have free agency, you have the rookie draft, more information. It allows others to catch up. I think that Najee Harris is a fine pick. If we were drafting, let's say we were drafting active players and just rookie picks, I think the 101 may have been my pick instead of Travis Kelsey. Not to say that I want to redo. I think it's a great pick by Theo. And yeah, this is around the point where if you're doing a 1 QB draft, this is a great time to start looking rookie picks. That rookie pick is going to have its value go up. If you draft, let's say you draft Allen Robinson. I don't know if we'll get to him in the next round or not, but let's say you draft Allen Robinson and he winds up on a real shit franchise because he just takes the money. He gets greedy. He wants the cash. Well, then his value goes down because the information changes. Nothing's changing about the 101. The 101's on a rocket ship to the moon. Mm-hmm. Najee Harris goes to the Steelers, to the moon. Najee Harris goes to Atlanta with Arthur Smith, double rocket ship to the moon. He goes to Seattle to replace Chris Carson, triple rocket ship to the moon. You have nowhere to go with drafting rookies and or rookie picks but up, unless for some weird reason they were to get hurt or fall in the rookie draft. So I think it was a fantastic pick and a great play by Theo being prepared for this draft.
Theo's always prepared, man. That's why we pay him the big bucks. That's why we hired him.
That's it.
So, Randy, you've already answered my question. It sounds like you're good to go another round. We'll try to make it quick because I know you got to get your beauty sleep, and I don't want to have to pay you overtime.
I need every second I can get, kid.
So before I make my picks, we got to give a shout out to our biggest supporters, our biggest partners, the FFPC. Go to myffpc.com. We talk about it on the show all the time. So if you're listening to this for the first time and you're not on the FFPC, it's a high stakes site. We call it that, but guys, $35 gets you into a best ball. $77 gets you into a dynasty league, which will never fold, like Randy mentioned. They've never had dynasty leagues fold. And now with something like the Dynasty Depot, there's even less chance, right? Because guys are trying to get into these dynasty teams. You want to, maybe you're winning your home league. Maybe you're doing really well in redraft or dynasty at a lower stake buy-in, and now you want to test your will. myffpc.com. It's just a fun site, man. They got best ball, they got redraft, huge tournaments, up to $500,000 for first place. Like literally $500,000 you could win playing fantasy. And best balls, dynasty, you got Terminator drafts right now. Any kind of format that you want to play in fantasy is available on that site. The customer service is at a level that, I mean, any business today would only dream to have the customer service level that Chris offers out there at the FFPC. So go check out myffpc.com. There's a reason we partner up with them. Same reason we partner up with Viridian Global. They're just good people that put up a good product that we use, ourselves. And we just want to share that with you guys. If you're not already on the FFPC, DM me at Goat District. I'll hook you up with a link and you'll get a bonus initial deposit. Basically, you get like a free $35 that you can use into a best ball. You win that best ball, you win a entry into 350 football guys entry to win $500,000. So with $35 that you didn't even put yourself, that you're getting as a bonus, you could win $500,000. So check it out, myffpc.com. Guys, we'll come back around. I took JT in the one spot at the 101. We talked about a lot of these guys that are available, right? Age becomes a factor here. One of my picks has to be Michael Thomas. Again, that might be an ageist, but I mean, guys, this guy was the wide receiver 1 2 years ago. We've got a guy in Winston who, I don't know if you guys remember, but he made a couple receivers look pretty legit fantasy-wise out there in Tampa. So you put him in this New Orleans offense, and who's there other than Michael Thomas? Nobody. We've been waiting for Smith. Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders gave us a bit of something, but he's 90 or whatever in football years. So look, Michael Thomas right now, for me, people are sleeping on. And I know he's not the piece that everybody's going to want to come trade you for once you have him on your roster. But if you want to win in the next 2 years, get yourself some Michael Thomas at the end of the second round. Anyone argue with that?
No, that's a great value. I mean, I know he's a little bit quote unquote older, but he didn't play a lot last year. He's got a lot of reasons to play, like 20 million of them, and he's locked in. And I agree with the Jameis take. I think Jameis is going to be his QB, and you're going to get a lot of value. And you've got a young asset at JT, so you can afford to have your secondary player be a tad older.
All right. I could get fancy. I could want, something. Nah, you know what? I'm going to stay true. I'm going to stay true to my rankings here. It's more my tiers, but my rankings. And I know this guy is not a fan favorite these days. But guys, like, I don't know why we're hating on Josh Jacobs so much, to be honest. I got to say, like, if you look at the offense, nothing flashy last year. Nothing. Yeah, they were all right. Another team with they were all right. Let's put it that way. They weren't anything special at either end of the ball, right? But look, Josh Jacobs not going anywhere. Dude's 23. For me, Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders are not that far off in value. And we took Miles Sanders starting in the second. So for me to get a Josh Jacobs in the to start the third round, especially with the hate that's on him right now. Look, I moved a Josh Jacobs piece a couple weeks ago or a week ago, I can't remember. So I don't mind moving him for the right value, but I do feel that overall, and you guys can agree or disagree with me, but I feel like Fantasyland's kind of down on our boy Jacobs right now. And I think for the value that he offers, the upside he offers, the age, all those factors, like the offense is running through him in Oakland. Guys, how do you feel about Jacobs? Is he a good value here? How do you feel about him going into 2021?
I think he's a fine value here. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Theo.
No, I think it's a fine value here. I think it's actually I would consider him where I took Harris. And Jacobs, it's almost like we're kind of angry that he doesn't get more receptions. For whatever reason, we've been kind of beating that drum the last 2 years to get some targets for Jacobs. But he's 1 month older than Najee Harris. They were in the same backfield. And the guy's a 23-year-old back who's been highly productive in the league. He runs behind a good offensive line in an offense that was productive. So, I mean, I think that Jacobs, for whatever reason, people are kind of sour on. If you have him in Dynasty, good luck getting 2 firsts for him right now if you're trying to trade him. But I think right here he's on value. I think it's if anything, it's a good value. And you have a team with Jonathan Taylor, Michael Thomas, and Josh Jacobs. You're feeling great about your chances to win the league right now.
He was the RB8 on the season last year, and he didn't play a game. He averaged just over 15 points per game. You know, if he'd have played that second game, he's still a top. You know, he's a top, guy. And if for some reason, if he even accidentally slips and falls and gets more involved in the receiving game, then you've only added value to this pick. So I agree. Solid age range. That's a very contend now team. You're going to want to come back and add some more pieces, obviously. But so far, so good, man.
It's always nice. Matty, don't you think every team looks nice after the second round? Like every team looks awesome. You're like, man, my team looks good. All right, tell us what you're going to do.
Exactly. I just wanted to touch on Josh Jacobs. I wish he would have fell a little bit more into that end zone in that Week 16 matchup where he took a knee and they lost the game because of it in typical Raiders fashion. So Josh Jacobs, he's a little jaded right now in the fantasy community. I'm sure it's because of that game. Yeah, he gets that. Your actions have consequences, sir. And
What will you learn? That your actions have consequences.
So that is what I have to say on Josh Jacobs right there. I can't like the man after he lost me a championship. So
I gotta love you, man. I thought I was the only one that brought his own sound effects when he showed up on a guest spot, but I respect it, man. I respect the game, Matty. And yeah, man, I got nothing else to add, guys. Before we get the next pick. Who that's is that Theo? Theo, you next?
Yeah.
Coming back around? All right. We'll go back to you. So you've got CMC, and then you went our first rookie with Harris. You coming? What are you doing? Come back around. You going RB3? You going wide receiver 1? You going to surprise us a bit? Where are you going here?
So I have my two foundational backs here with McCaffrey and Harris. So I'm feeling a little dangerous, and I'm going to go with the back that everyone in Dynasty keeps thinking is going to fall off a cliff, and all he keeps doing is running for more yards and more touchdowns. I'm taking King Henry right here at the 302, and I'm going to have a triple-headed backfield next year. I'm going to feel good about my team in the future because I think McCaffrey and Harris will hold value, and I think that Henry is going to have another monster year. He's a stud. He's continually just kept putting that team on his back, and I think that right here at the 302, he's just great value for me.
Henry for me is like the OG AJ or not Aaron Jones. Like he was on an offense, and you just couldn't wait for him to get the ball. And now he's the king, man. He's King Henry. Does age concern you? Does anything concern you? I mean, he looks like a freight train out there as your RB3, dude. He's your RB3 right now. You know?
I think that age should be a concern to everyone. He's carrying a lot of weight. He's 27 years old. I think if he could potentially fall off a cliff in a couple of years. You all remember Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson was fantastic, and then he was out of the league. I think that it could be like that with Derrick Henry. But in Dynasty, at this point, it's the third round, and I think you have to weigh the positives and negatives with taking a guy, and I'm going to grab the production right here. I think in redraft, Derrick Henry's going to the top 5 next year, and I think right here in Dynasty, I'm going to take my chances at winning a championship in year 1 out the gate with McCaffrey, Harris, and Henry.
I like it. Aggressive. I like it. Matty, you got Swift, you got Ridley. It's a nice young combo. What's the third component there?
it is Patrick Mahomes, the first quarterback off the board. We're adding in the number 1 scoring quarterback in most years. He's just going to help this team. I know that this might be a reach at quarterback, but Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue. I'm not a QB early kind of guy, but with the sound effects and it's Pat Mahomes, and I mean, there's nothing I can argue here.
It just feels perfect because you're pairing DeAndre Swift and a kind of young receiver in Ridley with a all-star quarterback. You know, this is for scoring. This is to get a tier advantage over the other teams. Similar to tight end in a super flex league, quarterback is your tight end in a one quarterback league where it's similar, where you have to have a guy who's a tier above to score more, you know, to win games. You have to score more points to win games.
You play to win the game. All right. Barkley,
All right.
Kelsey,
Yep.
Rand. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty legit right now. Where are you going?
I'm ready already. I thank you guys for allowing me to get my mans. I am taking Austin Eckler here at the 304. Not even 26 years old. He's still 25. 2 years of peak performance by the age apex. Low mileage. He did have the hamstring last year. He'll be 26 in May. I mean, here's a guy that in 2020, even in spite of the injuries he played 10 games. He had 65 targets. He had 54 receptions. It's over 5 receptions a game. 400 yards. I mean, that's 9 points in receiving work before he even gets his first rush. And he only had 3 total touchdowns. You go back to his 2019, and his 2019 season was just bananas. I mean, he had 92 receptions. He had 8 receiving TDs. He had 3 rushing TDs. Got a quarterback upgrade, Justin Herbert. They'll probably invest in the offensive line. Yeah, man, give me Austin Eckler. Like I said, this team, I've made the decision. I've got to chase the championship. I've got Saquon Barkley, a little bit older Travis Kelsey. And I'm looking at the wide receivers on the board. There are studs, just literal studs on studs left. You know, if I have to double tap wide receiver on the way back, I'm fine with that. I can do that. But I've got an advantage in a PPR world with the PPR back. Give me Austin Eckler.
Can't argue with that, man. Dude's a machine. You guys got anything to add on the Chargers running back? I mean, he's one of these guys where age is gray, right? It's not black and white. He's not as old as he says. You know, he's one of those guys. Like he's an exception for me, anyways. So I like the pick here, especially where you're pairing him up. Theo, anything to add?
No, I think it's a great pick, and I think that running back's starting to dry up, and Eckler's going to give you guaranteed production. I love the way he looked with Herbert last year. I think that I'm very bullish on the Chargers offense this year in general, and I think Eckler is going to potentially lead the NFL in receptions for running back. We all saw how good he was 2 years ago, and I think that it's a great pick right here, and he's a very good looking win now team with Barkley and Kelsey and Eckler.
Yeah, and you know, he averaged 11.1 fantasy points per game if you're playing in like basically standard leagues. And in 2019, he had 13.6. So, you know, he really wasn't far off from what he was. And he missed so many games this year with injury. So I think that's a solid pick if you're in a win now mode.
All right. I got Akers. Came back with Diggs. And again, just looking at the roster I have, couple running backs I'm going to pass over. If I can have DeAndre Hopkins as my wide receiver 2 in the 3rd rounds with Akers and Diggs, I think it's a solid foundation. Again, I'm not as ageist when it comes to receiver. You've got Hopkins that was rejuvenated last year in this young offense with a young rookie quarterback. He was a young quarterback coming, you know, when he got to Arizona. But I just feel like Hopkins, you know, he's a young 28, I guess you could say, like a young 28 and a half, maybe, I guess he is right now. But again, you got to see where if he's your wide receiver 1, depending on where you get him, but I love him as number 2 behind Diggs. Jefferson and Adams, who we pairing that up? Who's getting thrown in with Adams and Jefferson?
So this is a tough pick to make right here, because this team needs a running back, but there's been a run on running backs. So I'm going to go with probably my rookie 101 besides Najee Harris, and I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. I'm going to build a wide receiver core that I can live with. You add Justin Jefferson's former college teammate, Chase. I think Chase might go in the second round of some startups this year. I'm getting him in the third round. I'm happy about that. I think he's a stud. I think he has A.J. Brown-like potential in the league. I saw a great comparison that he was I saw a great comparison to an in his prime Hakeem Nicks. I think that's a good way of looking at Jamar Chase. I think he's I believe that was Fusu View on Twitter. He's a great follow. I think he made that comparison, and I think that was a really, really good one. It was well thought out. So I'm very bullish on Chase. I have one 101 in rookie draft this year that I split with a good friend of mine, Ray. And Ray wants to go Chase 101. We're kind of arguing Harris versus Chase back and forth. So I'm happy I can Chase in the third round. And I'll figure out running back later and have foundational wide receivers with this team.
It's a solid trio, man, at the receiver position. All right, CeeDee Lamb, Dobbins. Who's going
and
the three spot?
Terry McLaurin.
Oh,
Terry McLaurin, baby.
It's a damn good pick. I'm not going to give him any argument. You know what a fan of Run TMC I am. Going to get a clear quarterback upgrade. And, when you have him on your team and he's not forced to be your wide receiver 1, he can be your wide receiver 2, or him and CeeDee Lamb are just your 2 starting wide receivers. You're in a damn good spot, and both of those guys could take another step forward in 2021. Add in J.K. Dobbins as a starting running back. You've cobbled together a nice little start to a roster.
Thank you, sir.
Agreed. Randy, is that you? Hill and Chubb?
That's me. I'm gonna go the Theo route, and I'm gonna go rookie. I'm actually gonna go Travis Etienne. I really expect him to wind up in a good spot. If he winds up in that Shanahan-style offense, now it's like third-generation Shanahan. It went from Mike to Kyle to McVay to the LaFleur brothers, and now we have Mike LaFleur, brother of Matt and maybe cousin of Peter LaFleur, and he's going to bring that Shanahan offense. It's a joke. It's the guy from Dodgeball. I saw JD look up like, who the hell's Peter LaFleur? It's Vince Vaughn's character from the movie Dodgeball. But,
sounded like my uncle. I was like, hey,
yeah, it's Travis Etienne, man, in that Shanahan offense in New York. I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have him projected going there, and man, that would be something else with his speed. Man, just sign me up. I will gladly take it. There's a lot of spots he could land, but the teams that have the draft capital and the need, the New York Jets come to mind, and he could be a home run hitter. Think of what you've seen Raheem Mostert do in the San Francisco offense. Now put some real draft capital and talent behind it, and it's over, man. It's a wrap. Travis Etienne at the, I guess it's the 308.
Again, Randy, that's one of the options I was looking at coming up. I think that's a perfect spot to take him. Again, you're looking at youth. We're in the 4th round right now. You're looking at a guy that's going to go as probably the RB2 out of this class. Anywhere that you would prefer him landing?
The Jets for sure. Atlanta maybe. I want him to land with an offensive-minded head coach. I wouldn't want him to land in, I don't know, like if Matt Patricia was still a coach, Matty can testify, and have him be abused, or anywhere where he's going to be in a clogger situation. Now, if he lands in, like, say, Jacksonville with James Robinson, that just screws up the value of 2 guys. But if he lands in even Houston, even without a quarterback, sight unseen, just give me somewhere where he can get like a 60%, touch rate, and I'll be fine. I think the talent wins out. He's a good pass catcher, great athlete, good speed. I'm excited to see what his measurables are, although there's no official combine anymore. So who knows? But I just know I've seen enough watching him play with Trevor Lawrence to know he's a badass, and I'm in.
I like the pick. All right, in the 9 spot, I've got Gibson and Cook. Dalvin Cook so far. I'm going to go Chris Godwin. I know his value's taken a bit of a hit I mean, what was he, wide receiver 2 last year? And we've seen what this offense is doing. You know who their quarterback is next year, maybe even longer, which I don't get. I mean, I would ride off in the sunset personally if I won a Super Bowl at home and all the stuff that he's done, but that's a whole other episode. I just like Chris Godwin as my wide receiver 1 right now, with enough question marks to offer that value to a guy who can easily be a top 5 receiver by the end of the year, in my opinion. The 10 spot, AJ Brown, Dan's 101 last year, and Alvin Kamara, my 101 last year. Who's going to go in that 3 spot for that roster?
So this could go a number of ways, but I see that Terry McLaurin just went off the board, and I took Chase. Hopkins went off the board, so I want to grab T. Higgins right here. I'm very high on T. I think he's an alpha wide receiver 1 in this league, and I'm going to take him right here. I don't want to see him get to that beginning of the 4th and miss out on him. I think that he's going to continue to grow with Joe Burrows. I think that he's a very talented wide receiver, and I think we only saw the surface of what he's going to reach next year. So I'm very happy to get T in this spot.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love T. Higgins. He's again in this kind of tier with these, second-year receivers. You've got Burrows, who was out most of last season, and Higgins just showed that he's one of those quarterback-proof receivers because he balled out in his rookie season, even though his star quarterback was out. So, I mean, you can't hate that pig, especially as your wide receiver 2 behind A.J. Brown. DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, who's going to be at the 3 spot on that roster? Matty boy.
I had this pick primed for a while, ever since I took DJ Moore at the 202, and this is my running back 2 in this class. It is Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams is 1.5 years younger than Travis Etienne. He had a better dominator rating in 2021. He had better yards per carry in 2021. He's a better receiver overall than Travis Etienne. I like Javonte Williams a lot. I think we're going to see a team come calling for him come day 2 in the draft, and he's going to get a pretty good draft capital, a good landing spot. And I like him. I like him out of UNC. He's a freight train at running back. He's built, I think he's 224 pounds. So, he's a solid back, and he's got speed.
Can't get mad at going after your guy, especially these young rookie running backs. I mean, if again, your confidence is basically going to decide how much you're willing to invest, and you this is where you get these guys. You know what I mean? Like, this guy pops, you're good luck getting him next year. So I love that you're going after the RB3 in this rookie class. And according to you, hot take, according to Matty, maybe the RB2 out of this class.
Yeah, definitely. I think like Memphis said, that 2 years is a lot for a running back, and there is 2 years in between Etienne, Harris, and Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams is, I think, 20, turning 21. He's the youngest running back in this draft.
And Dan, your co-host, normally when he's not vacationing in beautiful tropical locales across the globe, he and I fantasy drafted him to the Atlanta Falcons to play that Derrick Henry-esque role in an Arthur Smith offense, and we were just salivating at the thought of Javonte Williams. Now, in fairness, had Javonte Williams wound up in that spot like that draft I'm going to do in May, then maybe I would have taken him over Travis Etienne at that 308, but I think it's a good pick. And I'm actually going to close this thing out with a pick that might curl some hair, but this is the kind of pick you have to make when you're on the turn. You have to get your guy if you believe in your guy, and my guy is Deontay Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're talking about a guy that had 100 and 44 targets last year. He had 10 games of 10 or more targets, and in 3 of the other games, he was injured and left the game early. He was limited. Juju's going to be a free agent. He's taken his 128 targets, his dancing on the logo, and his bicycle to somewhere else. You know, Deontay Johnson only has to get 16 of those to average 10 targets a game. It's a huge bump for him and Chase Claypool. I know that I've either got to get him here or the 401. We're not going to duo 401. And this guy is going into year 3. I know there's concerns about him without Big Ben Roethlisberger, but as a rookie coming out of Toledo with a thing named Mason Rudolph, he still managed as a rookie to get 92 targets, 59 receptions, and 680 yards. I believe the Steelers are well ran deep down, and I'm getting my man. This might be a team that might be a year away, but that's all right, man. I'm going with a lot of upside with Kittle, Sanders, and Deontay Johnson. All are capable of top 5 at their position, finishes in 2021. So I'll take a big swing, my friend.
No, I like it, man. I like that Kittle, Sanders, Deontay. I think Deontay is one of those sleepers right now, meaning he's a value, in my opinion. Maybe the drops are turning people off, and maybe it's Big Ben, but that Pittsburgh offense always offering good value in Dynasty or in Dynasty land, and Deontay is one of them. So, guys, this has been a blast. You've got it on the board there. We went 3 rounds. Again, the whole purpose of this is really to kind of, give our thoughts on each individual player, give you an idea of roster build, because as we've seen tonight, a lot of your picks are dependent on the picks that you made prior to that on that same roster. So tiers, rankings, no matter which way you do it, we thought we'd offer you a nice early mock draft tonight. We hope you got something out of it. Let me take this guy off the screen. Guys, this has been a blast, man. Randy, I'll go to you first. Always appreciate you coming on. Please remind the people everything you have, all the goodness you have going on right now in Dynasty War Zone land.
Yeah, man, we got the DWZ Football Network. We're doing a thing called Mock Draft Monday, but even mock drafts get bored after a while. I mean, how many times can you rearrange names like Jamar Chase, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, Kyle Pitts, depending on if it's tight end premium or 1 QB. So we're just doing a show called the Rookie Rundown on Sundays. Monday nights, we'll have our boy Kyle and Jake from the FF SmackDown. They're hosting the redraft show. Jerry and myself do the Dynasty War Zone. We've got a Patreon, patreon.com/Dynasty War Zone. That's where we keep our rankings. I just posted my rookie rankings tonight, and just lots of goodness, man. That's the community. And we'll have 8 shows in 7 days at the start of the regular season. We'll be doing a show a day, including a live on YouTube only Sunday show where literally you have no idea who you're getting. It could be me. It could be Maddie. It could be me, Maddie, and Jake. It could be me, Maddie, Jake, and Kyle. It could be it could be anybody. And you never know. We'll be answering your gambling questions, your start-sit questions, your trade questions. You never know what you'll get from about 11:30 to about 12:45 on Sundays this coming football season. But just follow everywhere, Dynasty War Zone, and you'll get the hookup.
Appreciate you, Randy, and all.
Thank you for having me on.
Make sure you follow him at DWZ Memphis. Always dropping goodness, whether it's on the YouTube, on the Twitter, or on your podcast platform. And Maddie, man, can't say enough good things. Appreciate you, all the goodness you've brought to Fantasyland, to me, to Viridian. You're just an awesome dude to interact with, and I appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing all your goodness with us tonight. So share anything you want with the people and anything you want to give them before we close this out.
Yeah, man. So I just launched a new podcast. It's called Dynasty by Design. You can find it on Twitter at DynastyXDesign. It is basically a rundown of what is Dynasty. We're doing Dynasty theory breakdowns with special guests. Coming up is Peter Howard on, he's doing analytics with me. So we're going to talk about how to read analytics for Dynasty. So this is something that I wanted to put together because my little brother's getting into Dynasty and he doesn't know a whole lot. So I'm not trying to trade with him yet because he's not he's always using these different calculators in Dynasty Trade Calculator that are erroneous. So I like to help out people that are coming in. So this is a podcast designed to help new people. And then you can find me on the Dynasty Rewind. Bob Van and we just did a 32 pick NFL draft mock draft. So we did a full first round NFL mock draft. It's going to be on YouTube tomorrow. You can find it if you YouTube Dynasty Rewind and subscribe there too. And then subscribe to my YouTube channel, Maddie Big Chest.
Awesome, man. Awesome having both you guys on. Theo, always a blast, brother. Like, can't express how happy I am that you're part of the G team. Remind the people where you're at, what goodness you got coming, and anything else you want to close this out with.
So you can find me on Twitter at the OG Fantasy. You can find my writing on breakoutfinder.com and starting this fall with playerprofiler.com. I do a waiver wire column. I do a lot of redraft reviews and a few other columns like that. You can find me on the GOAT District doing a number of podcasts with these guys. We have a rankings podcast that's going to start dropping where we're going to be talking a lot about ADP this summer and try to get you right for your upcoming drafts. So we're looking forward to a lot more stuff on the GOAT District.
Yeah, man, we got a lot of new stuff coming out on the Go District. I mean, if you subscribe to Go District and Dynasty War Zone, you're pretty much covered across the board with all the goodness we got coming. Theo, always appreciate you. Randy, Maddie, this was a blast, man. This was definitely fun. Guys, if you're listening to this, watching this, any support you can give, whether it's sharing, subscribe. If you are subscribed, press that notification button. We'll try to get you prepped whenever we got stuff coming so you don't miss anything. We want to help you win, man. We want to help you get ahead of your league mates this offseason. That's what we're here to do. We appreciate you guys listening. Check out myffpc.com. Check out dynastydepot.com. And check out globalviridian.com. Support them. They support us. We appreciate your support. Be happy. Be safe. And we'll check all you goats later.
Goat District, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text. That trash offer's the best. You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden, they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man. Y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.